Hello, BookTube. This is the fifth bookcase, and this is the last part of the last shelf, the third shelf. So we'll get right into it. So now, Nigel Tranter, Montrose, the new one-volume edition that includes the young Montrose and Montrose Captain General. Nigel Tranter was a big-time Scottish historical novelist. This is about one of the greatest and most attractive figures in all of Scottish history, a general of genius and an inspiring leader, dashing and brave yet cultured and humorous, a man of tolerance in an age of bitter sectarianism, a man to lead a nation rather than just a faction. He fought and won for a Stuart king, was exiled in the Stuart cause. He returned to raise the standard of another Stuart king and was betrayed by him. But even at his execution, by his manner and his generosity of spirit, he towered above the lesser men who had brought about his destruction. This whole heroic human story of James Graham is told in this one-volume edition of Nigel Tranter's true enthralling novels. So then I have a series that's pretty common here on BookTube. The first one is Pompeii by Robert Harris. Random House, New York, 2003. Wonderful novel about the last days of Pompeii and the explosion of Vesuvius. Then Imperium by Robert Harris. There's the author. A novel of ancient Rome. So Imperium, Simon & Schuster, New York, 2006. When Tyro, the confidential secretary and slave of a Roman senator, opens the door to a terrified stranger in a cold November morning, he sets in motion a chain of events that will eventually propel his master into one of the most suspenseful courtroom dramas in history. The stranger is a Sicilian, a victim of the island's corrupt Roman governor Varius. The senator is Marcus Cicero, an ambitious young lawyer and spellbinding orator, who at the age of 27 is determined to attain imperium, supreme power in the state. And then, by Robert Harris, Conspirata, a novel of ancient Rome. Here's the end papers. This is Simon & Schuster, New York, 2010. On the eve of Cicero's inauguration as Consul of Rome, the grisly death of a boy sends ripples of fear through a city already racked by civil unrest, crime, and debauchery of every kind. Felled by a hammer, his throat slit and his organs removed, the young slave appears to have been offered as a human sacrifice, forbidden as an abomination in the Roman Republic. Yuck. Then we'll move on to Michael Curtis Ford. And this is a novel of ancient Greece, The 10,000. Beautiful cover. There's the end papers. So Thomas Dunn Books, St. Martin's Press, New York. And this would have been 2001. After decades of war, mighty Athens has been ravaged, its navy destroyed, its city walls toppled, its army disbanded. The fierce military state of Sparta has triumphed, but passion and hate linger on. Thousands of battle-hardened veterans from both sides of the conflict remain scattered across the Greek islands, restless and dangerous, until the young Persian prince Cyrus issues a call to arms from his base in Asia Minor. The rogue nobleman is raising an enormous mercenary army to wrest control of all Persia, the most powerful empire on earth, from his half-brother and king. Historical novel. Then the same author, Michael Curtis Ford, Gods and Legions, a novel of the Roman Empire. Another nice cover. And maps again. This is Thomas Dunn Books, St. Martin's Press, New York, and this was 2002. The year 354 AD, Julian, a young scholar in Athens, is the last survivor of a bloody political purge that killed his entire family. Unexpectedly summoned to the court of the Emperor Constantius, he fears the worst, only to find himself bearing the ring of Caesar of the Western Empire. Tested by bloody battle and the skepticism of the Roman legions, Julian proves to be a military genius, crushing the German tribes that have threatened Rome for generations. Soon after, defying his own emperor against overwhelming odds, he risks civil war and ultimately seizes the empire for himself, becoming the most powerful man in the world while still only 30. And then Michael Curtis Ford, a novel, The Last Years of Rome, The Sword of Attila. Let me see if there's another nice volume, another end maps. So it's Thomas Dunn Books, St. Martin's Press, 2005. And in an epic campaign that historians have called the most crucial in history, two great warriors match strength and tactics on a colossal struggle for the fate of the known world. Attila. Then we move on to Stephen Pressfield for the rest of the books here. The one I have here is the Afghan Campaign. 2,300 years ago, an unbeaten army of the West invaded the homeland of a fierce eastern tribal foe. This is one soldier's story. This is a map on the end papers there. Doubleday, New York, 2006. It's narrated by Matthias, a young infantryman in Alexander's army. The Afghan campaign explores the challenges, both military and moral, that Alexander and his soldiers face as they embark on a new type of war and are forced to adapt the methods of a ruthless foe that employs terror and insurgent tactics, conceals itself among the civilian populace, and recruits women and boys as combatants. Then we have, again, Stephen Pressfield, Gates of Fire, an epic novel of the Battle of Thermopylae. Doubleday, New York, 1998. Thousands of years ago, Herodotus and Plutarch immortalized Spartan society in their histories, but today little is left of the ancient city or the social structure of the momentous culture. One of the few antiquarian marks of the civilization that has survived lies scores of miles away from Sparta at a narrow Greek mountain pass called Thermopylae. It was here, or it's Thermopylae, some people say. It was here that 300 of Sparta's finest warriors held back the invading millions of the Persian Empire and valiantly gave their lives in the selfless service of democracy's freedom. A simple engraved stone marks their burial ground. Then we have, again, Stephen Pressfield, Tides of War, a novel of Alcibiades in the Peloponnesian War. Doubleday, New York, 2000. If history is the biography of extraordinary men, the life of Alcibiades, 451 to 404 BC, comprises an indispensable chapter in the chronicle of the Western world. Kinsman of Pericles, protege of Socrates, Alcibiades was acknowledged the most brilliant and charismatic personality of his day. Plutarch, Plato, and Thucydides have all immortalized him. As the pride of Achilles drove the course of the Trojan War, so Alcibiades' will and ambition sent their stamp upon the Peloponnesian War, the 27-year civil conflagration between the Athenian Empire, Sparta, and the Peloponnesian League. As a commander on land and sea, Alcibiades was never defeated. The destinies of Athens and her favorite son were inextricably intertwined. Man and city mirrored each other in boldness, ambition, and vulnerability. And then we're on to the last Stephen Pressfield, and the last book of this bookcase, The Profession. This is a thriller published by Crown Publishers in New York, and this was published in 2011. So the year is 2032. A third Iran-Iraq war is over, and the 11/11 dirty bomb attack on the port of Long Beach, California is receding into memory. So sort of a near-future thriller. So that was it. That was the fifth bookcase. Mostly historical fiction, thriller, a few little odds and ends. So thank you, BookTube.